Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning into my podcast, Xena Life as a Dominatrix. This is episode 24. This will be broadcasted on Tuesday, November 22nd, 2022. Today I'm doing something a little different. I'm asking Q&As to one lucky listener, individual, somebody very special, and he's sitting in the bondage chair right now. He's not locked up. I'm just going to ask him some questions. Luckily, he's not stuffed with a ball gag, so he could answer these questions. His name is C. Say hi, C.
Hello.
So, questions and answers for you. My question to you. Are you ready for it?
Yes, I am.
Are you lucky that I didn't stuff a ball gag in your mouth?
Very much so.
How would you answer the questions if you were gagged?
Like that.
Like that. I could probably understand. Well, no, I don't really understand the gibberish much. So, how would you identify yourself?
It's a good question. And identity is something that's come up in recent years through what's going on in the world. I identify as male.
Mm-hmm.
I was born male, so that does make me cisgendered. I'm not the alpha dominant master. That's not who I am. I'm far more refined.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not a beta male, so to speak.
Okay.
I see myself more in the sapiosexual category and a fetishist.
Very nice, C. Awesome. So, question number 2. How does the concept of identity relate to your persona?
Kind of elaborating more on what we just talked about, being a fetishist, it's aspects of things that I experienced probably at a younger age that I grew up that I find stimulating.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm of a generation that grew up with magazines and not the internet. So I was very attracted to the female form.
Uh-huh.
And when I was of that age, there were certain qualities that the female form had. They had natural breasts and curves and hair. And they were hairy. And they would have tan lines sometimes. And they would wear lingerie and garter belts and stockings, and there would be a certain style that all of the photographs would have, and these are things that turned me on. I read a lot when I was younger, and I have fetishes for different areas of periods, like the certain looks of certain eras from, say, film, because that's what I grew up with. I'm not a fan of certain subgenres of, say, pornography. It doesn't interest me. I strongly feel that the best pornography films were made in the 70s and the early 80s, and it's regressed to less in recent years, starting in the 2000s and going forward.
Nice. Very nice. Wow, what a very great question and great answer. I was going to mention porn. Like, when did you first realize you had this fetish of hairy women, or would it be called a fetish for you?
Well, I think because, growing up with Playboy and Penthouse and Hustler under the beds of friends' parents and,
Naughty.
Yes, I was naughty. That's what you saw in VHS movies that you'd rent. I mean, that's just how the women looked. They looked like women. They did not look, you know, younger.
Mm-hmm.
They looked like women, and that's what I was, you know, attracted to, and that's what the certain scenes would be. Um, I am a fan of movies of the 70s,
Uh-huh.
such as there's European filmmakers
Mm-hmm.
like Jess Franco and Jean Rollin and Sergio Martino. Um,
And they're pornographers, or what are
well,
they?
they're not really pornographers. They've delved in pornography, but these are like they'd call these sexploitation or softcore films or thrillers or horror films or erotica.
Mm-hmm.
Like for instance, with Jean Rollin, there's a vampire movie called Requiem for a Vampire. And
Mm-hmm.
there is a scene where, after the vampires have captured the young girls, they chain them to a wall and they take them down to a dungeon. And there's already other women that are chained to the
Oh
walls.
my.
And these two barbaric figures um, whip them and fondle them and rip off their clothes and start dripping hot wax on their bodies.
Wow.
Um, but I think the the granddaddy of
Mm-hmm.
all these movies for me
Uh-huh.
was Louis Buñuel's Belle de Jour, starring Catherine Deneuve, who
Oh.
plays a bored French housewife
Mm-hmm.
who goes to a brothel
Okay.
and basically becomes a prostitute for the afternoon while her husband's at work. And she goes through various kinks and fetishes and experiences a lot of different BDSM. That was, you know, a certain aesthetic to it. And then, of course, a scummy, slimy friend of her husband discovers that she's working as a prostitute, and the thing that attracted him to her
Mm-hmm.
was her purity. And he kind of chastisers towards the end, where he's like, "Ah, I knew you had it in you. I'm no longer really connected to you. You're nothing more than just a common whore."
Oh my gosh. You
Um,
remember that line?
well,
Wow.
it's Fernando Rey from,
Uh-huh.
you know, various films. So you
Mm-hmm.
remember dialogue from films, and it's Catherine Deneuve, who a lot of people remember from The Hunger
Uh-huh.
with David Bowie.
Yep.
Um,
Mm-hmm. Nice. Nice. And then yeah, it's been a while since I've seen Belle de Jour. How about Matrice?
Matrice is an
Matrice.
excellent film as well.
So
Um,
awesome. I love her setup,
the setup, the head of
her hidden dungeon
it is
below.
amazing. She has her regular living space above,
Uh-huh.
and then she presses a secret button, and then she goes down a stair
Mm-hmm.
into her dungeon.
Ooh. That was one of my next questions for you. What BDSM movies are your favorite?
I mentioned some.
Mm-hmm.
Another one is The Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward,
Mm.
starring Igwe Fennick, who is Sergio Martino's actress of choice, where she is a housewife who's being stalked by an ex-boyfriend, and like there's various scenes where she's making love to him in the rain, and he goes after her with a broken bottle and he breaks it. It's not real glass,
Mm-hmm.
so it slightly cuts her body in
Mm-hmm.
places, and he cuts off her clothing with a razor. But the music is very, it's all in slow motion and is shot in a very erotic way. It's
Mm-hmm.
not overtly violent or threatening.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Italian Gothic horror films of Barbara Steele from the mid 60s, where she's in bondage and she looks quite the Gothic vampiress that she is. And she's usually being whipped, or she's in chains and she's in a various state of undress.
Oh my.
Um, and then there's Story of O with Chlorine
Yep.
Cleary,
That's a good one.
and that is another classic novel as well.
Yep.
And then another one I think of is Jess Franco's Eugenie, which is based on a Marquis de Sade
Mm-hmm.
short story. And I think another reason, going back to how did I realize I was into this thing,
Mm-hmm.
this whole scene, was when I would watch either A Clockwork Orange,
Mm.
and there was just something that clicked with the, sadomasochistic elements of it,
Mm-hmm.
and for some strange reason, Hellraiser.
Wow.
Yeah,
Interesting.
there was like an underlying message that was going on in that movie, and I just got it. And say, unlike other people that I knew that were my age that were like, this is disgusting, this is gross. And I'm like, I don't know why, but the way that woman is, killing all these men to bring back her
Oh my
undead
gosh.
lover, is
A horror
kind of,
movie.
it's a horror movie, but for some reason it's kind of turning me on in some weird way. Um,
Now, Clockwork Orange is Kubrick, correct?
that is Stanley Kubrick, yes.
Nice. Nice.
And there's moments in that where you have the combination of sex and violence, but the real message that's connected to that is connected to the idea that if we become what is the Clockwork Orange, where we no longer have our choice to make decisions for ourselves,
Uh-huh.
we essentially are no longer human, and we are no longer truly free.
Wow. What a wow. Interesting message. Wow. And what do you think of Eyes Wide Shut? Personally, I think that's one of my favorite Kubricks. I love that movie. I could watch that movie anytime. Anytime. It's so amazing. And how I know trying to change the subject, but not trying to change the subject. But when I look at Stanley Kubrick, I don't think of Clockwork Orange. Not disagreeing with you, but I prefer Eyes Wide Shut over Clockwork Orange. I don't know why. It's just my, but I love that movie so much.
I think Eyes Wide Shut is excellent as well,
Yeah.
and it's a great
Uh-huh.
coda to his filmography.
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting is that looking at Eyes Wide Shut
Uh-huh.
and all the women in Eyes Wide Shut,
Mm-hmm.
they have elements of what I was attracted to when I was younger. They are shapely, they are womanly,
Mm-hmm.
they have natural endowments,
Uh-huh.
and they have pubic hair.
And then what year did all the women start shaving down there? I wonder.
I
Because
think it
back then it was like all the pornos from the 70s and 80s and just bush, just total bush. And then one year just totally all shaven.
I think it was in the mid 90s when it all disappeared.
Huh.
And I know it's a joke in the American Pie movie how they're talking to, Eugene Levy, and there's like, it's all gone. And he's like, I liked a good bush in my day.
I in my last podcast episode, I mentioned American Pie, a humiliating scene, which I did in real life at for a film, as well as in a public dungeon setting, one of my parties, a private dungeon setting. Sorry, and I had my slave at the time bring an apple pie, and I got that inspiration from American Pie. So I had the slave fuck an apple pie in front of everybody because he enjoyed humiliation and being embarrassed. And when I think of American Pie, I think of what I've done with an apple pie or what the slave has done with the apple pie. But yeah, you're right. I do remember that scene where he's like, oh, yeah, all the women is bald. What did he say? Bald down there?
It's all
Or
shaved.
Shaved.
All
Shaved down
gone.
there.
Not a pubic hair. It's like it was all lasered away.
This is another question I was planning on asking you. Which BDSM themed books are your favorite, and which ones would you recommend to the listeners?
I already mentioned Story of O.
Mm-hmm.
There's Venus and Furs.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get through it, because it is a bit long-winded and plotting at certain points, is Desaad's explanations of 120 Days to Sodom is very tedious after a while.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, how much buggery and sodomy and murder and torture can one get? And usually it's translated badly into English from French. I'm trying to think of any other S&M type
Oh, what do you
books.
think of 50 Shades of Grey?
I don't.
You don't?
I don't. I don't think of it. There's nothing. There's nothing to think about. It's a. I think it's a pointless story. I think it's a joke. I think it's a fantasy for
Yeah.
a lot of women that are new to the BDSM scene that really aren't into the core elements of the BDSM scene.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, I remember. Well, actually, this was, I don't even remember what year it came out, this book, but it was a big phenomenon, a big deal, and they branded it, and it was in different book clubs and all that. And I was actually hired by a local sex toy store in Chicago to discuss the book. And I'm like, well, I did read the book, and I don't remember much about it. I just skimmed through it. I I bought it because I wanted to get through the flight. I bought it at the bookstore at the airport at Midway, I believe, to fly to whatever city it was, maybe LA. And I'm like, I need something to read. Okay, why not? I'll buy 50 Shades of Grey. So I skimmed through it, and it was all, yeah, it's all fantasy, and the author made a killing from it. Good for her. But yeah, a lot of people, they either like it or don't like it. So at this place that I was hired at, the sex toy store shop, I was just discussing the book, and the people in the audience were all middle-aged housewives, and they wanted to hear my input and hear about the book. And but it was a good way to get people together, for a book club, or to discuss the book. And then it also sparks a curiosity with people to try it in the bedroom. But I've heard a local news story in Chicago from a college student, uh, with two college students. I think they were boyfriend or girlfriend, but it was just BDSM gone wrong. And I'll never forget that story. I'm like, what the fuck? So basically, it was this guy, this freshman in college, got the inspiration from 50 Shades of Grey, but I believe the story was that he tied her up wrong. There was more to the story, but it made news, and she was hurt, and that's not good. Everything in this BDSM lifestyle is safe, sane, and consensual. So how she ended up hurt, I feel really bad for her for that. I think she was traumatized by it, and I believe he was arrested as well. And when it's non-consensual, that's not good. But basically, this freshman in college got the inspiration from 50 Shades of Grey, so that's a negative effect from the book. Um, yeah, and then it's all fantasy. A billionaire master dude with a jet. I can't remember the slave girl. I can't remember the names of these characters, but basically, it was written by like a high school student. Like the writing was not the best. If you could remember the writing, do you agree?
It was like bad romance novel
Got it.
for, like you said, middle-aged housewives that are trying to find something to get out of the boredom of their own life, that live in the suburbs. And the main character was essentially, like you said, billionaire, master, you know, supposedly, dashing good looks, but douchebag extraordinaire.
Oh, that's not good.
And I think, and the movie was just as awful, if not
Oh,
more. And they even made three of them, I think, or two of
oh
them. I
my
don't remember, but
goodness.
yeah.
I don't think I saw the movie.
I didn't. I think I saw clips of it, and I was just like,
Eh.
The you can't make a BDSM movie and have it be a natural regular rating by the Motion Picture Association of America. If it's not at least NC-17 or something,
Uh-huh.
unrated or X, or it was made in Europe,
Uh-huh.
it's just not going to fly. It's not going to be authentic. They're going to,
I think they made a lot of money from it, though.
well, just because something makes a lot of money doesn't mean it's good.
You're correct on that for sure. And the popularity of it, the book, so then the Hollywood is like, oh, let's make this book into a movie. See how that goes. Some books are better than movies. I can't think of any examples right now. Do you have any examples?
Books that are better than movies, um, maybe not so much in the whole BDSM
Yeah,
trend,
yeah.
but I would argue that the book Frankenstein, the book
Ah,
Dracula
there you go.
are both
Better.
better than the actual movie versions that have been
Wow.
released.
Nice.
Um, the book novelization of Moby Dick is better than the movie that was ever made of Moby Dick. And
Mm-hmm.
I think because in a book, the author has the opportunity to expand their universe
Oh,
and the
okay.
characters and have them go through different subplots and situations and resolve those situations before they ultimately get to the point where um, they solve the final problem that they have to
Mm-hmm.
in the story. And I'm sure if I was to go back and reread um, say Story of O
Uh-huh.
or Venus and Furs, I would discover that as well.
Mm-hmm.
um, the closest version to Desade's 120 Days of Sodom is a movie by Piero Pasolini
Mm-hmm.
called Sallow, or 120 Days of Sodom, and they changed the setting. It's no longer the 18th century of France with ruthless French aristocrats. It's now Italian fascists in Sallow, in Italy, um, at the height of World War II. And you still have the same characters, the Duke, the Bishop, you know, in their various roles, but it's a critique on fascism in World War II. But it's still the same evil men doing horrible things. But
Mm.
in some ways, especially with the character of the bishop, it comes off as comedic,
Oh, interesting.
unintentionally.
Gotcha. The movie It. I didn't read the book, but I heard that the there's a book version, correct?
There's a book version.
And I
The book
heard,
is way better than the film
got it,
because there's
got it.
so many characters
Uh-huh.
and, like I said, sub stories that happen in the book that you do not find in the film. I know that in the recent remake, that they tried to extend it because it's two films, so they go into a little bit more of the subplots. But almost always the book is better than the
Nice.
movie.
Nice. Another question. How about music? What do you like to hear in a BDSM scene? What kind of music?
Dark, atmospheric, almost sensual music. So, for instance, there are some industrial electronic artists
Mm-hmm.
like Deform from Germany
Mm-hmm.
that is really cool for that setting and creating an atmosphere of, sensual sadomasochism.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the soothing, sensual sounds of Cozy Fanny Tutti and Chris Carter from Chris and Cozy,
Mm-hmm.
former Throbbing Gristle, makes for a great scene.
Yeah, I usually play Chris and Cozy and Deform, Skinny Puppy, Throbbing Gristle. Like, industrial music is so awesome for scenes, as well as like dark electronic music, just music that goes with the flow. Um, some people they like, heavy metal. I don't really play much heavy metal. Um, and then like for previous parties, I would play just all kinds of music, and the party guests would just enjoy whatever that was played. or they would like have a suggestion like, hey, do you have such and such band? Like, yeah, I would love to accommodate. And even like I remember blasting like house music for one of the parties too, or hip hop. And it's great. It just whatever strikes your mood. And any other music?
Hmm. I think in addition to some of the ones you already mentioned,
Uh-huh.
really good. Um, Even just like really atmospheric instrumental stuff
Mm-hmm.
that puts you in the mood.
Nice.
Because sometimes lyrics, people are focused on lyrics. If it's too familiar,
Mm,
they start, thinking about what they're listening to as opposed to being in a play space.
got it.
So you'd have to create a mood.
Mm, got it. Very nice. What's your fondest memory of attending a BDSM party?
Wow.
Got to think about
I
that
do
one.
have to think about that. There
It's
were,
it's been a while since I mean there are some BDSM parties here in New York, but um have you attended any lately?
I think the last BDSM party I attended here in New York City was pre-pandemic in 2019.
Wow.
And
3 years ago, yeah.
3 years ago, yeah.
Wow. Which party was that one? Or did you have a good time? Do you remember it? I know it was 3 years ago. It kind of seems like yesterday.
Well, one thing I notice about a lot of the parties here in this city is the
Uh-huh.
S&M, and this is kind of a moniker that people kind of inside joke is
Hmm.
uh, stand and model.
S&M, stand
S&M,
and
stand and
model.
model. There's not actually a lot of play going on because everybody's, they kind of got their guard up and they're just kind of
Standing and modeling.
standing and modeling. Like, look at my outfit, look at my blank expression. I'm so cool.
Hey,
And I think
there's
it's
nothing wrong with that.
no, but it's like I just remember in past years that a lot more playing was going on,
Sure, sure.
and I don't know, maybe it's because people are they got their guard up. It's a big city, nobody knows anybody,
Right.
and they're afraid to let their guard down and just kind of be who they really are.
Got it. So, what's your fondest memory in the past of attending a BDSM party? Did you attend lots of parties
I used to attend lots of parties in the past.
in Chicago,
In
or
Chicago, I
got
did,
it?
yes. Hmm,
Hmm.
that's a.
New York too, right?
I went to a
Like
few,
a
yeah,
few.
a few, just a
Hmm.
few.
Come on, you got to have a memory.
How graphic can I be?
You could be as graphic as you want to be.
Okay. Oh,
What?
I was just an observer, but I'll
Yes.
never forget this.
What?
Some sub took a business end of a baseball bat.
What? What do you mean by that?
Basically, somebody, I think his name was like Captain Fantastic or
What?
Captain Strange or something like that.
Yeah.
But he wanted to be
Or
sodomized,
Captain.
something, yeah. And you
Captain Baseball Bat.
and somebody shoved a baseball bat with a condom on it to keep it clean and safe
Oh my.
and lubed, shoved it right up his ass.
Wow.
He took it like a champ,
That's amazing.
like he was at a home plate. And speaking of home plate, there was somebody actually at the party that was doing play-by-play commentary as if we were watching a baseball game. That's
Oh my.
I think that's the most memorable thing. And there was another one where there was a game that people would play called anal ring toss. And there was somebody that was like saying, "Hey, come on, let's play. You got to play." And this one guy in the crowd said, I'm not very good at sports.
See, that's something you can't
And I
forget.
can't forget either of these moments.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other things that have happened at previous parties that I might have been involved at in myself,
Uh-huh.
but
Those.
those stand out. Watching some guy take the business end of a Louisville Slugger, the wind up in the pitch, and it's a grand slam
Wow.
right up the booty hole.
Nice. It's amazing how
Things you see and you are in disbelief.
and it's really reality.
Yes.
And it's not a movie, but it's reality.
Yes.
That's awesome. And it's amazing what I was going to say. It's amazing how much a hole can stretch. No pun intended.
Oh
The
my.
seventh inning stretch.
Boy.
Were there people in the audience watching this, eating their popcorn and their.
There was no Cracker Jack. There was no sodas. There were no hot dogs. There was no,
Oh my goodness.
peanuts. It was just bewildered faces in shock and awe, staring in disbelief of what they were witnessing.
That's awesome. Captain Baseball Bat. Props to him. That's amazing. And that's implanted in your brain, huh? You'll never forget that.
Nope. Never gonna forget that.
Took you a moment to think about a very memorable scene. I could, yeah, that's memorable. The hell with going to a baseball game. Have you been to a Yankee? Speaking of baseball, have you ever been to a Yankee game
I've
yet?
not been to a Yankee game.
What about a Mets game?
I've not been to a Mets game either.
Oh, okay. Cool. Well, thank you for answering these questions. Oh, okay. 7 questions I asked you. Thank you so much, C, for participating. If you all enjoyed this episode, I have a support the show link on each and every podcast episode. It's not obligated to tip, but tips are appreciated, and the tips go to my Venmo. And again, it's not obligated, but tips are appreciated. So thank you so much for listening to Xena Life as a Dominatrix Q&A with C today at my studio. And luckily, maybe I should put you in bondage now and shut you up. Uh, I'm joking. But thank you so much, you all, for tuning in, and have a great day.